But I think what is probably the most important contribution for me is to actually complement this quantitative results of large-scale surveys, longitudinal research with very concrete examples of how practice can actually make a difference in also different contexts. So you've brought together examples from very different countries, different pedagogical traditions, and I think this is particularly valuable. I think the other point that I think came out very strongly, as I think is quite often the case in those projects, is how important professional development is and leadership, and that you really dig a bit deeper. You don't only say, well, professional development is important, but you also look at what is the mode of professional development that can work. It has to be close to the staff's daily context. It has to be adapted to their needs, but also be followed up. So it can't be just sort of a top-down thing that's not being further pursued over the course of the year, over the course of the next year.
Debate between targeted or open access or universal services. And I think that we need a mix, and that unless you have a universal base that reaches everyone, you will always miss families on the cusp where just a little bit of help will push them over the need for really intensive services. So I think you need to build whatever you're going to do on a universal service base, and that a universal service base isn't stigmatized, so that you can help families when they need it in and out of help.
Well, we, as researchers, as educators, as teachers, we live today in societies that are becoming increasingly diverse, and learning environments are becoming increasingly diverse too, both linguistically and socioculturally. And for this reason, actually, teachers and educators need new research-based insights and tools and viable practices to deal with such a diversity and complexity. One of the key lessons that ISOTIS gave us is that we cannot look for a magic bullet to deal with such a complex issues as are those that we deal with in diverse learning environments. Instead, we have to become more aware as a teacher, as a professional, as a researcher too, and perhaps also as policymakers, in order to the fact that we need different levels, a sort of systemic, holistic way to deal with this. And we cannot look just for this reason that fit for all the situation, because actually situation always diverse.
One thing that stands out for sure is the need for intersectoral approach to the child, to the family. In order to achieve that, the need to actually analyze what the state level or the municipality, local level government spends or invests in a child and the family, and to analyze that, to make the funding there more equitably covering the gaps than it is now, and enable the interagency activity in order to tackle any problem that the child and the family has, in order to come to educational system, stay in it, and benefit from it.
I really think that the ISOTIS project is going to contribute to the ongoing discussions in Europe on inclusive societies and on the work for social equity. They expand and develop our knowledge base on the questions that are raised on social issues and on inclusiveness in the education and early childhood, and in also the work with families and local societies. I'm quite impressed by how the research, which is solid and good, and how it can feed into the discussions that are policy relevant.